in this introduction. I will comment later on, but I would like to formulate a few remarks. We are at the eve of a big meeting on the sea and on the resources, the sea logic in the city of Ferrara. The whole fishery sector will participate, and especially of the Adriatic and High Mediterranean sector. Fishery is important to achieve the objectives of blue growth, the long-term strategy of the EU in order to promote sustainable development, inclusive growth of the sea economy. The sea economy concerns all those economic activities, the richness based on this resource, the sea, transformed into a variety of production sectors, and fishery is an important context. Today, in this webinar, we want to see how fishery can contribute to blue growth. When I talk about the fishery, I'm referring to fishery as a production sector and to the fisheries, that is to say, fishery activities as a combination between the species and the fishery tool used for the catch. How can the various Adriatic fisheries contribute to the blue growth? What are the connections to this wider concept of blue economy? We will try to answer this to this today. So fishery line with the blue growth is sustainable from the environmental point of view in terms of selectivity and effectiveness of the resource exploitation. But this is an important concept for the growth. Sustainable fishery also from the economic and social points of view. So this fishery can create job opportunities and jobs of quality, contributing to the development of local fishery communities and to the objectives of European territorial cohesion. So, based on this reference context, the mission of this project, the objective of this project was during these years to identify some parameters and some concrete methodologies allowing to recognize the Adriatic fishery activities that best meet these sustainability needs, offering the opportunity of a certification. Certification is an element that translates on the market through labeling that can be recognized by consumers, the added value of a product caught in a responsible manner. So these are the themes we will work on during this webinar. The speeches of my colleagues will be operational because we will try to answer some concrete questions. So we will show the parameters elaborated by the CNR within the certification scheme ARFM in order to evaluate the sustainability of the fishery activities. We will describe the procedure context for the certification process. And then Loreta Malvarosa from Nisea will show a practical application of these principles. She will show us how the concept, the framework of ARFM has already been applied to Adriatic fisheries. Then we will have the speech by Ivan Latianesvich by Omega 3 showing some tools developed by prize fish in order to make fishery activity selective, and on Andrea Monati Staric of Cooperativa Istra will show the tools and the processes developed in order to create added value on some processed product. We will try not to be long in theoretical explanations. We will provide you with the parameters and the tools that as a price free project, we thought important for the sustainability project. And we will explain what is at the basis of a certification, a representation of a sustainability. Now, I will give the floor to Alessa Cariani of the University of Bologna, project leader of Prize Fish, and for the description of the activities developed. Thank you, Julia. Good morning, everyone. I thank First of all, I thank Julia and the colleagues who contributed to the organization of this webinar, the other speakers, and all the colleagues who followed the organization of this event. And I thank all participants too. So thank you all and welcome. Julia's presentation was a complete, I would say perfect, to describe the objective and the result of this project prize fish. I will give you a brief description of the general goal of prize fish and of the need of this idea of the project, and on this idea the actions were developed. So my intervention will be very short. I share a PowerPoint presentation you should see. If you have any problems, please let me know. So prize fish, the title is a very long title with the keywords fisheries, Adriatic, and other aspects that are linked fishery and its products, the fact of generating fishery products that must be innovative. And so it's a change of approach, a change of culture, of approach to this production sector in order to have improvements within the blue growth, in order to improve the supply chains, in order to propose on the market more competitive products with a high added value, in order to better meet market needs and fishery operators without neglecting the needs of the environment of the Adriatic Sea that supports this productivity. Within prize fish, it is important not only to do, but also to disseminate, like all Interreg projects. This project aims at capitalization and the growth of the communities living within the project, the coast areas of Italy and Croatia. With these webinars like this one, we want to share the results, practical things developed within the project with the stakeholders along the whole supply chain. I belong to the university, to a research institution. Normally we talk and we don't do, but it is very necessary, it is really necessary through these online events. It is important to share with those who do. You will see in my colleagues' presentations that the prize fish did not start from the university, from the research centers, but from a participatory approach of a constructive dialogue with the operators of the supply chain. So what do we want to do? What we have done, what we did, because price fish will end in December. We want to increase the sustainability. Julia talked about the sustainability of all fishery activities, of all fishery supply chain activities, developments and results that can be transferred to other supply chains, exploiting the potential of knowledge and of innovation for the Adriatic Sea. Mr. Scarcella, who is not with us today, gave this definition of the Adriatic Sea, very meaningful. The Adriatic Sea is an ideal laboratory because it is very much studied. It has been very much studied for many years. So we have a set of, we have knowledge, and so all the knowledge sets we have can start a virtuous circle of innovation for all sectors. The idea, so the various aspects of sustainability. We must all be sensitive to the themes of environmental sustainability, but this sustainability must be real and find some practices, some results in all daily practices of the supply chain. And the value chain goes to the consumers, ends with the consumers who buy and eat at restaurants, giving a value to the fishery products. How much would you be willing to spend to buy a sustainable product? We see massacres of organisms, or we see images of the impoverishment of our environment. But how can we support sustainability? I made an example. It's only an example very close to me. The coast of, along the coast of Romagna, there is a dish called, a plate called anchovies of Cantabria, of the Cantabric region. But this plate has a cost 36 euros. This is an image that I found on the internet. This is the medium, the average price, but not only at the restaurant where it is a luxury. These products can be found also in the big distribution with very high prices. So are we available to spend for Adriatic anchovies? This delicate and environmental and mental balance, this choice, this balanced choice of consumers between price, that is to say, the intrinsic value and the price. So price fish originated from a collaboration between many organizations, research organizations, and territorial organizations. But what is the heart of a price fish? The productive institutes, organizations that will participate as such as Omega 3 and Cooperativa. And then we also have organizations working on the territory. We have school, the only school in our region, to train fishermen, because it's important to build and to consolidate this blue innovation. Sometimes it's difficult to have good relations, but only the integration can lead us to success. So the aim of Price Fish is long-term sustainability. We will focus on the fishery sustainability today, but this concept of sustainability, and you will see this in my colleagues' presentations, this sustainability must be environmental, economic, and social. And for 3 years of project, this has been our say, fishing better, gaining more, and respecting the Adriatic Sea. We have 3 approaches, one for our actions, for our action categories. We have actions focused on fishery, other on processing of fishery products, and the last action concerning the value chain, economic and marketing aspects. So we want to produce best practices, concrete results. We will show you practical approaches, not theoretical ones. So real data in order to improve fishery practices, how these practices can be certified in order to make you understand the value of this certification within the value chain. And we want to market eco-certified and added value Adriatic seafood products. On the market, there is only one product certified by MSC that is now more common, and the only seafood product, the only Adriatic seafood product is of Gamedia Carlino, of Cooperativa di Carlo. Why the others? Why not the others? But because there are some problems, and my colleagues will explain to you these problems, and we will see how to fix all these problems. I hope that I was not too fast. No, it's okay. It's okay now. I will listen to the speeches with great pleasure.
Anche di comprendere quali sono stati le attività, gli obiettivi del progetto.
Many thanks for your presentation that has given us an overview of the project objectives and results achieved so far. Now, for the first presentation is one done by the Natural Research Council. The main researcher was not able to join us, but his presentation will be presented by Giulia Sandalli. I'm going to share the screen now. I hope you can see the PowerPoint presentation.
Vedete la presentazione?
Can you see the presentation? Yes, everything's okay? Very well, so I can start. So as I already mentioned by Alessia, the main objective of Price Fish project was to improve the competitiveness of fish products. And within this project, the National Research Center is the coordinator of Work Package 3. The objective of this package is to develop a regional scheme to certify sustainable and eco-certified fishery productions. And the name of this scheme is called Adriatic Responsible Fisheries Management. I'm going to call it ARFM from now on. In my presentation, I'll first of all talk about the method that we have followed in the project to get to the final proposal of this ARFM scheme. And then I'm going to tell you about the indicators that we thought would be applicable in this certification system in order to assess fishing products. And I'm also going to talk about different steps that need to be followed in order to get the certification once the ARFM scheme is in force. This is still in an initial stage. It has not been fully implemented. And in the next few months, we're going to work in order to have it recorded as an Adriatic trademark. We started by mapping and selecting the various fishing activities in the Adriatic Sea that could potentially apply for this ARFM scheme. By looking at the value of the catches, but also about the types of fishing gears that were used. Then we compared these initial results with fishermen practicing these types of fishing in the Adriatic Sea. So we met in different sites, both in Croatia and in Italy, with all COVID constraints, of course. We met all the various fishermen who are practicing these types of fishing methods. Based on these consultation meetings and also by comparing these activities with other already in place certification methods, we have developed the ARFM standards. So you can see here a selection of the various fishing activities that were selected for Italy, including clams, including jackknife clams, and the various types of fishing that is used, hydraulic dredges, traps, etc. The same work was done also for Croatia. Here we selected anchovies and sardines with specific nets that are being used. So in summary, all the consultations we had with fishermen in the Adriatic Sea, and we have then collected information from several types of international fishing management methods like FAO, PCP, and we've also looked at other certification plans for fishing, MSC, FOSS, Alaska, etc. For example, Alaska Responsible Certification Program was one of the schemes that we have examined. What we aimed at was a simple certification scheme focused on the issue of ownership as well as on sustainability. So our assumption was that in the Adriatic Sea, we already have fishing activities that would not meet strict MSC standards, but since they are based on responsible fishing practices, they should be made responsible on a regional level. A third important pillar in ARFM is that this certification scheme does not only involve the environmental topics, but also economic and social issues. These are all fundamental points because other certification already in force, like the ones I mentioned before, they do not include economic issues or social issues that are considered to be less important than the actual environmental issue. Whereas we think that when we talk about blue economy, we need to have a 3D dimension of sustainability, including all these other domains. You can see here the structure of these standards. you can see that the standard is based on three macro areas. The first pillar is government, the second environment, and the third one is based on socioeconomic issue. And each of them has some general clauses, namely guidelines taken from the code of behavior, code of conduct from FAA or from other important fishing standards in place. And in turn, each pillar is divided into different specific indicators. These are reference parameters against which, as I'm going to tell you later on in greater detail, against which fishing activities are examined and assessed. We have actually thought about a double assessment level. So in the first place, we look at the conditions under which fishing boats are actually practicing fishing. And this is what we have called as component of evaluation. In the second level, we are looking at the conditions under which individual fishermen are actually operating, those who are applying to ARFM accreditation. This is what's called component of accreditation. Now I'm going to talk about the contents in the various indicators of these ARFM pillars. Now, concerning governance, there are different indicators. First of all, we need to check whether there is a legal framework, and if so, if this legal framework is actually applied concerning exploitation of resources. For example, rules concerning common regulations on fishing from in Europe, European directives on marine strategy, directive for the planning of sea spaces, etc., etc. Then other indicators are used to check whether cooperation mechanisms are in place or whether multi-annual management plans are being implemented. Then we have the environmental pillar. Here we have a whole set of indicators concerning data collection statistics, institutional framework, data limited approach, and we have also developed a model for assessing marine trophic chains. Then we have the social and economic aspects. That's the third pillar, which is normally not included in other certification programs, which conversely believe is fundamental, as I said before. So social and economic aspects are very important for us. And here we have indicators aimed at assessing individual operators' ability to provide good working conditions under the best market conditions, to look at a proper balance between actual fishing and fishing capacity, and also by looking at other international standards. For example, looking at the International Labour Organization, what are the requirements concerning human rights, safety on board to be complied with. And also the social dimension is very important. That is to say, labor agreement, women's employment, etc., etc. As to the structure of ARFM, we have thought of 6 different steps, from the first application to the first assessment, followed by another assessment, certification. And if fishing is certified, there will be the monitoring step, and after 8 years, a renewal of certification. So in conclusion, to conclude, I will briefly tell you what are the various steps in this procedure. We start from the first application, and applicant, who can be a fisherman organization or individual fisherman, applies to the ARFM scheme. At this point, an independent certification body who is going to assess fishing activities later on, and a list of certification bodies will also be published by ARFM, and each applicant has to finalize an agreement with that specific certification body. So there will be an application form with all useful information to assess the applicant concerning their fishing activities. Each applicant also has to provide information for an initial assessment. After this first step, the applicant may then decide to have fishery be pre-assessed. This is an optional step. The objective of this pre-assessment is to provide applicant an overall initial assessment of fishing capacity, and at this stage, some actions for improvement may be introduced for the following steps, involving deeper assessment. A deeper assessment, which follows up, is the core of the entire assessment process, which may involve on-site visits and inspections, visits by external inspectors, an interview with the applicant, who can also send their observations, stakeholder opinions that may also be collected, and a report is then drawn up, which gives, which scores actually the entire assessment process. At this point, I'm going to tell you that within the Preassessment project, several assessments, preliminary assessments of some fishing activities in the Adriatic Sea have been carried out, and the objective of the presentation by Ms. Loreta Malvarosa, who is going to follow me, will actually tell you what has already been done. You can see here the various pillars that I've mentioned before, the various indicators. And here you can see the assessment level and the reasons, and with the scores, with the relevant scores. Finally, in the final steps, foresee, first of all, a certification decision, that is to say, based on the obtained score from fishing activity. The assessment team is going to decide whether actually that specific fishing activity may actually be certified, or in case an insufficient score has been achieved, it won't be certified. If certified, audits will be carried out every 2 years to assess whether the action plan conditions have been met, and also to check whether requirements are still in place, are still met. And after 8 years, that is to say, when the ARFM certificate expires, the fisherman or the fishing operator can actually be reassessed again. So this is actually the entire certification process that we have developed concerning fishing products in the Adriatic, and I'm now available for any questions you may have from the audience, from other speakers. Are there any questions? I'm available to answer. If there are no other questions, I have some questions actually. What are the main issues that you have observed from the interviews and meetings with Adriatic fishermen? Yes, as I said before, we had consultations with fishermen at the beginning, and during these consultations that took place in person before the COVID epidemic, several important topics emerged. One of them was actually reported by fishermen who already had MSC certification. So we told them that the same fishery can be certified by both an international certification body like MSC and ARFM. And actually both certifications could actually follow some product diversification, both for fresh and frozen products. So it was quite interesting to see that international region certifications are not competitive ones, but they can be combined and successfully work together. And then another interesting topic that we found out with consultations with Croatian fishermen is to certify some already processed products like fish burgers. But on this, our colleague Monaco Staric is going to talk about it later. And also there are great opportunities deriving from ARFM to promote the social dimension of fishing, or also to promote tourism along coastal areas. So these are some of the issues that we have found by consulting with operators. We are running a bit late actually, because we started a bit late. So I think we could have a question and answer session at the end. So let's start with the poll. So as usual, you'll have 1 minute for replying to the poll.
Allora, vedo che sono un po' timidi i nostri ospiti a rispondere oggi.
No, dovete buttarvi su.
Our guests are a bit shy now. No, please try and answer the questions, please.
Ovviamente è un sondaggio anonimo, e non
It's an anonymous poll, of course. You won't be scored. You won't be scored at the end. Don't worry.
Ancora 5 secondi.
5 more seconds.
Ok, interrompo.
Ok, I stop.
Interrompo e condivido i
And
risultati.
I share the results. So Giulia, if you want, you can comment them.
Allora, vedo che la prima risposta...
I see that the first answer had 50%. So the goal of a prize fish is to develop a scheme for certification of both the fisheries and aquaculture products. Now, for fisheries, aquaculture is important, but the project, the prize fish, is oriented to sea products caught in the sea. I wanted to clarify this aspect. Concerning the second question, the positive result is white, so the answer is correct. So we had a key consultation with the fisheries operators. And the third question, the correct answer is false, because as we have said, as our ARFM concerns the economic and social aspect of sustainability too, not only the environmental aspect. So I think it was quite good. Thank you. I now give the floor to Loreta Malvarosa, ISEA, for her speech. Good morning, everyone. My name is Loreta Malvarosa from ISEA. Can you see my screen? Yes, we can see your screen. Perfect. So good morning, everyone. My name is Loreta Malvarosa. And as you can see in the first slide, I work for NISEA, Fisheries and Aquaculture Economic Research. It's an Italian research organization. The activity is based on fishery economy. NISEA is involved in economic data collection for fisheries and for food processing sector. NISEA is also active on a series of projects. I would like to stress the fact that this participation in the prize fish project was positive, because we could deepen our activity, that is to say, to accompany Italian fishery activities to sustainability. But when we talk about sustainability, we reason in holistic terms, not only environmental sustainability, as said by Julia, but for us, sustainability means economic sustainability too. So I'll start my presentation. As already anticipated by Julia, the objective is to show a practical application of the ARFM procedure, as it is normally called. So this presentation, this speech, and the results presented will be focused on two main fisheries. The presentation is in English in order to facilitate the other colleagues connected. As anticipated by Julia and Alessia in a clear and exhausted manner, the Adriatic Sea is the most productive basin in the Mediterranean in terms of fishing products. But we also know that the Adriatic Sea has some problems in terms of overexploitation of fish stocks, and almost 90% of the fish stocks assessed in the Mediterranean are estimated to be overexploited as a result of fleet overcapacity, high fishing pressure on juveniles and on fishery in general, due to a poor involvement of the fishing sector in decision-making processes, and due to weak market engagement in commitment in promoting the sustainable exploitation of natural resources. From an economic point of view, it is important to help the sector value the fishery products, and the Adriatic Sea has some potentials. So the goal of this project was to contribute to this process by developing an eco-labeling. The interesting thing for us economists is that this new certification scheme combines the environmental conservation aspect with the social and economic sustainability. In line with the most recent approaches that have been reinforced by the Farm to Fork strategy at the European level. So the expected output of this project is the improvement in the potentials in the marketing of Adriatic fish products, recognizing and rewarding sustainable fishing practices and influencing consumer choices in terms of purchase through a sustainable label, a regional, local label. But before testing ARFM with the fisheries already mentioned by Giulia, NISEA supported the CNR in this activity and collaborated in a survey conducted in order to collect opinions and expectations of operators, opinions concerning market channels, and opinions concerning some aspects that have to be improved vis-à-vis the fishery activity and the improvement of economic performance. As you can see from this tablet cloud, so this is a system of processing of answers. It is a qualitative analysis method, stressing the words, the most frequent words. So it is evident that operators need to diversify production and to stress the qualitative aspects of the products. And so they need a certification. They need to certify their products. I would like to stress that this survey was conducted among fishers, operators active in the 3 regions involved in the price fish project, Veneto, Emilia Romagna, and Marche, with different fishery activities, with small fish to dredge fishery. Sorry. Another activity was to identify the expectations as to the implementation of the ARFM. It is necessary to understand the potential acceptance of ARFM. And so it is clear, it is evident that the operators, for the operators' opinion, so ARFM can contribute to strengthen the trust relationship between operators and consumers. In fact, 80% of respondents say that there is an advantage in terms of image or reputation from ARFM. The negative impacts are linked to economic aspect, the costs that should be borne to comply with the rules envisaged by this certification scheme. So there are some who think that the certification will increase the costs. 70% 74% of respondents said that this. And so this percentage this percentage of people think that costs will increase, but 33% of respondents say that this certification might have a negative impact on prices. So a price increase due to the use of a brand might decrease the competitive power, but for 50% of respondents, the implementation of ARFM can have positive effects on the price, referring to the premium price due to the application of ARFM. Other negative aspects are related to the negative effects on the administration bureaucratic procedures, but 58% of respondents said that ARFM can contribute to improve monitoring. So the certification system is linked to systematic data collection for activities such as mussel harvesting on platforms or some fishery aspects, safety on board, aspects that are not covered by official data collection systems. Just to give you an overview of the expectations of the operators interviewed within WP3. So concerning the pre-assessment of Italian fisheries under the ARFM certification scheme, so this activity was carried out in 2021. Sorry, there is a mistake here. So April, September 2021. What did we evaluate? The fisheries selected through a consultation process with stakeholders, as already said by Giulia. How? By applying the ARFM guidelines elaborated in detail in the previous period with an approach concerning the three dimensions: governance, environment, and socio-economic aspects. The Italian fisheries assessed. My presentation is focused on the Italian side. So the Italian fisheries assessed are clams caught with hydraulic dredges, cuttlefish caught with fyke nets, and squilla mantis caught by small pots, and the snails caught by baskets, and mussel harvesting on gas platform in the area of Ravenna, offshore Ravenna. Concerning the coverage of the stock, we know that clams are caught in the Italian Sea. We talk about fishery and department fishery and management. Concerning cuttlefish and little snails, we talk about activities shared with Croatia, but the fishery activity is in the Italian Sea. And this is a fundamental aspect in the analysis of governance and management. Concerning mussels in the Italian Sea, so this is an Italian management. The applicant, so the operators who asked to test the application of ARFM for clams OP bivalvia Veneto, for cuttlefish and squillets and small snails. We have some passive gears vessels active in Marina di Ravenna in Emilia-Romagna. And for mussels caught on platforms, the applicant is ATI, coordinated by Cooperativa La Romagnola in Marina di Ravenna. Loretta, sorry, but we are late. I ask you to speed up your presentation. Okay. So this is a general overview of the methodology applied to the three dimensions and already presented by you, Julia. In my presentation, in my speech, I would like to show you how we assessed the methodologies concerning the governance. We reviewed the EU standards in international and national and local standards for the case of little fishery in Emilia-Romagna. Concerning the cooperation, it's not relevant except for cuttlefish. And then we reviewed the main management tools with the Mediterranean and the national management plans and the existence of action plans, action management plans. Concerning the environmental dimension, concerning data collection, we saw data collection for the stocks, for the target species of the fisheries, and for the institutional framework, same thing concerning to the existence of stock assessment. Stock assessment is fundamental for management. Or, in alternative, a data pure approach for the less important species not subject to stock assessment. There is scientific evidence of stock assessment. Concerning the precautionary approach, we reviewed the existence of the precautionary approach, that is to say, the use of the best available scientific information in order to define stock-specific reference points and actions to be taken in case of failure. As already said by Julia, concerning the ecosystem impact, we applied processed by OGS, developed by OGS, model developed for this project. I think that Igor will add something, but I want to say that the valuation of the fishery is a combination of quantitative and qualitative evaluation. The quantitative evaluations have been implemented for these two indicators.
Loretta, Giulia, grazie.
Volevo solo, scusatemi, raccomandare i tempi stretti. Purtroppo dobbiamo rispettare il programma. Però grazie Igor, prego.
Sarò velocissimo, descrivo velocemente.
Running out of time, so please explain this very quickly. The model is called ecosystemic or trophic web systems. That is to say, we are reconstructing the entire trophic chain throughout the water column. These are quite complex models. And we actually get all the input from the investigations already mentioned by Loreta. And with this information and data, we connect all species at the same time. Actually, the Adriatic model involves, covers the whole Adriatic Sea from the south up to the 17, 18 areas. And it consists of 75 functional groups. There are over 1,000 interactions among species and fishing interactions. All this helps us assess fishing practices and also how the various species interact with both impact and negative impact. And this is also useful to check this information against the best scientific practices. And we are lucky because we have all these systemic information already available for the Adriatic, information which is not available for other systems. Thank you, Igor, for this information. May I continue, Giulia, then? So the socioeconomic dimension is the one in which we have worked more intensively. We have developed a specific quantitative method for this, and we have assessed economic viability, the economic sustainability of these fisheries. We then checked whether there was any overcapacity, fishing overcapacity, that affects the balance between actually capacity and resources. And we've also assessed whether international standards like human rights and safety on board were actually complied with. Now, this is the socioeconomic dimension is our core activity within NISEA, of our organization, of our institute. So as to the first support specific indicator, economic condition, we developed this quantitative assessment checklist, that is to say, using available information, as already mentioned by Igor. We tried to develop a method to have an objective valuation. We use data concerning data that are published by the DG Mare as part of the reports by the scientific board within DG Mare. And this information, or the indicators we have used, are CR over BER, current revenue on break-even revenue, the so-called ROFTA, return on fixed tangible assets, and this is added and labor productivity. This also tells us whether fishing activity is actually productive. So, and it refers to fishing activity as to the management of fisheries. As to applicants, we have also qualitatively assessed any initiatives that the applicant is carrying out, like marketing strategies or product leveraging strategies. Because applicants actually carry out actual product leveraging actions or marketing actions that can actually improve the economic performance of their products. As already said before, we have also checked whether there was any overcapacity. What did we do to assess this indicator? So we try to give an objective and an unbiased assessment of proper balance between fishing capacity, number of fishing boats, and tons of fishing boats, and the resource conditions. In this case too, we used data, public available data in STECF reports, that is to say the balance between capacity and resources. This is the name of this report. And we use two indicators, sustainable harvest indicator, which identifies fleet segments with capacity surplus, and which measures are taken relying on stocks that are overfished. We also used data concerning maximum fishing efforts, the average of the days at sea per vessel, and the maximum effort found, the maximum days at sea observed in a fleet segment. So this is actually the quantitative approach that we have used. As to the third indicator, human rights and safety on board, we actually reviewed extensively the various international regulations, and if Italy is actually a signatory to all these regulations. So there are some international standards concerning minimum work age, presence of minors, etc. And we have checked whether these regulations, international regulations, were actually also signed by Italy. So they are also applicable in Italy. Italy has not ratified these international regulations, but the Working Fishing Convention 178 regarding fishing activities, but there are very strong pressures to do so by industry representatives. And having said so, the labor system and labor rules in Italy, in any case, grant ensure that the rights of workers on board of fishing boats are actually guaranteed and are actually respected. So there are just some details that still need to be completed by ratifying these other international regulations. Now, as to the overview of pre-assessment results for all the assessed species, as already said before, only the Venus clam fishing with dredges has passed the test, has actually passed the score, achieved the minimum score by ARFM, although there are a few details that need to be further improved. And the other fisheries have sort of failed this first pre-assessment, but there is scope for improvement. As to the snail fishing with baskets, so the indicator score is less than 6. As you can see above in red, a fishery is certified provided they get a score of at least 6, given by the sum of all the various items for each of the various indicators. And at the same time, it has to need an average between 8 and 10 for each key component. You can see that only for Venus clams, we got a passing score. So the average is greater than 8. All the others are failed. But obviously there is scope for improvement. Now, I would like to give you various results for each dimension, or if you say that we are running late, Giulia, tell me. I think you should skip these slides and get straight to the conclusions. This was an overview of the concerning cuttlefish with 5 nets. And you can see here the scores for each dimension, getting into details for each indicators. And when looking in detail, we have both COE and COA scores. Just the most important things, the highlights concerning cuttlefish. You can see that we get the 7. 7 is a dark green. So again, it needs improvement because the management plan is quite an obsolete one, dating back to 2011 for cuttlefish management, and it has not been adjusted to any precautions that were actually recommended by the other standards in force by the STECF. As for environmental evaluation, again, in this, there is no precautional approach as suggested by STCF 2020. And also as far as the food web is concerned, the score is not really positive because cuttlefish is in a medium-high position in the food web, and this may actually have an impact in terms of overfishing and environmental terms, and then socioeconomic evaluation indicators are show that there a proper balancing between capacity and resources. So actually, the assessment helps improve the final outcome, because also when looking at the socioeconomic assessment, there are already some initiatives being carried out to leverage these products, and this has a positive contribution to the overall score achieved. Now, concluding remarks and lessons learned. It is a holistic approach, as we said before. It also includes socioeconomic sustainability, which is a key point, a fundamental point, and it is in line with the approach currently adopted by the marketing standards by EDUs within the Farm-to-Fork strategy, the Farm-to-Fork strategy. We have also seen that evaluating fishery at a double level, COE and COA, offers fisheries willing to access ARFM to have more chances to get the certificate. Especially if applicants already carry out responsible fishing, so that operators and fishermen are already putting in place the best practices. Environmental protection measures, such as for the fishing of cuttlefish, where operators are already implementing resource implementation actions using less impacting gears, fishing gears. As already mentioned by Giulia, ARFM may also be combined with other certifications like MSC, and could also be used when MSC cannot be applied, because some of these standards like MSC have some very severe constraints. So ARFM could be a sort of alternative as a first step in the certification process. And last but not least, ARFM stands for Adriatic Responsible Fishing Management, includes the whole of the Adriatic Sea and focuses on a regional dimension. The key element is that it should be actually accepted by consumers, as already mentioned in the more recent literature. In Italy and in southern countries of Europe, there is a great attention to the origins of products, not only on the quality of product, but rather than on sustainability. This doesn't mean that sustainability is not important, but origin of products is key for consumers. Very well, thank you. So we can launch the poll again. So let's launch the poll at this point.
Anche qua invitiamo gli ospiti a partecipare.
Credo di poter interrompere la condivisione, vero?
Sì, sì, assolutamente.
Mancano 10 secondi. Ok, interrompo e condivido, così chiedo a Loreta.
Now I'm going to stop and share the screen again. If you have any comments on this. Yes, thank you. The answers to the first question are correct. As we said before, operators in the survey, the preliminary survey before application of ARFM, operators, Italian operators have actually said that they expect an increase in cost, mostly due to more paperwork involved, administration work involved, and also because they needed to comply with certain regulations, additional regulations. The second question, this is an aspect that is considered when looking at the socioeconomic dimension. Fishing capacity has an impact on economic performance, and obviously with 64% said no. So as we said, so the squills did not pass the evaluation. We still need to improve the process. That's it. Very well, then. So there is a short break now, if possible. I would suggest to have only a 5-minute break. What do you think? Only 5 minutes because we're running out of time. So we'll start at 11:33 at this point. We all have time to sip a cup of coffee. That's it. Obviously, if there are any other questions, I think we'll have a question and answer question at the end of our conference. Thank you.
Back, we resume, and I give the floor to Ivan Matyasevich. 1 moment, we have to restart recording. Okay, we restart recording. So as I was saying, I give the floor to Ivan Matyasevich of Omega 3 for his presentation. Ivan, you have the floor. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. We are the target group for this certification. So we talked about the ARFM certificate. We meet the requirements of TDC, and so I think that this is the right occasion for this certification method. My name is Ivan Matjazevich. I'm a project manager of Omega-3. And here we have another cooperative from Istria. Andrea Bonata Staric will talk too and will add more. Can you see my presentation? I'm going to share it with you. Yes, we can see it. We can see it. It should be full screen. Yes, it's perfect now. So I will say a few words on the cooperative Omega-3, one of the biggest ones in this area of the Adriatic Sea. It's not a big cooperative in economic terms, but it contributes significantly to the quota of pelagic species. We cooperate with 20% of anchovies and sardines, and we catch 10,000 tons of little pelagic species and 13,000 tons enter in the market through the distribution, through the retail market, and a part is exported. Concerning our cooperative, we invest in a continuative manner. We make efforts in terms of investment, in terms of modernization of our fleet, of the fishing boats, and of the production system. So we participated in this project, especially to find an innovative solution that might belong to this certificate, ARFM, to increase the quality of small pelagic species in the plant with the selective and innovative tools and equipment, and to increase the safety on board of operators of fishers. We have a purseine nets for anchovies and sardines. Once they are identified with the probes, the practice was with bag nets. These fish, these species of fish were extracted and sucked on board and then transferred to thermal insulating bins. As already mentioned, why the importance of this ARFM certificate? We are potential applicants. We wanted to increase in a targeted manner the quality of the raw material. And the goal is to promote, is to upgrade the technology in order to be positive on the environment, on the fishery in the Adriatic Sea. We have social elements, safety on board, and the economic aspects, such as the quality of the product that should make the price increase on the market. Our cooperative Omega-3 tested with this project the catch of small pelagic species, and the Bonazza Staric will say something about cooperative Istra. And we'll talk about the exploitation of shrimps caught. This was a step forward in the technology that might be recognized, that this certificate ARFM. I am a creative person, and so this is a certificate about the fish. And you can see here 3 types of fish. We talk about a greater quantity of fish from the biggest to the smallest. So I want to be focused on small fish species too. Here we can see an example of the sea pump that is normally used in aquaculture to transfer juveniles from a cage, from a basin to another. So this pump has a central unit. We will see it later on. We chose an external expert, Mario Lovrinov of the company Marigo. This pump from actual aquaculture was adapted to our fishing boats in order to suck from the sea the fish directly from the nets into the thermal insulating reservoirs. It is manufactured by Fevre. It's a French company. So what are the parts of the pump? There is the suction pipe that sucks the fish together with the seawater. So the fish is transported to the central unit, the part you saw in the previous slide. Then we have the dewatering unit connected to the main unit, and then in the part 4 we see another unit tested for another project, and this product has been proved very useful. So we might connect a selective unit attached to the central unit in order to reject the juveniles or undersize the fish into the sea. So the 5th part of the pump is a transferring pipe where fish that is alive is transported in thermal insulating bins. And then we have other spare parts, valves and other minor parts. So I now describe the process. We have the Persane nets around the fish, then the second phase, suction of sardines together with the sea water through the main pipe. to the central unit. So the fish goes through this central unit. There is a dewatering unit here. This dewatering unit pumps the seawater out. So we have fish. We had fish that had thin tissues. So we had fish that was less, we have now fish that is less damaged and then transferred. And then stage 6, fish is transported into thermal insulating bins filled with water, with ice at the temperature of -2 degrees Celsius. Now I will show you. I will show you a video of this about this pilot project. The video is in English with the subtitles in Italian.
In Adriatic in general and also in Mediterranean, we are not using the pumps for harvesting fish on the board. And we came to one idea to connect all of the companies who are dealing with such kind of the industry like fever, like omega-3 catching, and we propose them to make a pilot project to increase the quality, to obtain a better price for the fish, and which means on the other way to decrease the pressure on the resources with a better price of the fish. With traditional system of the catch, we work with the drifting nets. We put 300 to 400 kilos of fish in one net. We squeeze that fish, especially with the rough weather, and we study possibility how to apply the aquaculture system in the boat, which was never done. We have a technology in aquaculture. Now the simple model is how to transfer this aquaculture technology to the fishing boat. So we asked the company Fever to follow us in the pilot project. They agree, and then we came with the possibility to implement existing technology as an innovative solution to the fishing boats. We produce fish pond, breeding machine, fish counters, drum filters for aquaculture industry. Fever is always looking from the start for new project, a new opportunity, new market. We are a small company and we need to take all opportunity for create new business. Now, it's very simple system. We suck the fish direct from the sea to the fish pond with a propeller, plastic propeller, and the fish go out alive into the bin. So it's very important and crucial point if you compare with the old system with the net. Immediately as we start, we found, let's say, very good results in sense of the quality, increasing quality of the fish, in sense of the security for the workers, in sense of the velocity of the process, and in general, fish welfare. After this big success with our fish pond, with our European project Price Fish, we are thinking to go deeper on the fishing sector. This is the first time we are being part of this kind of project. But we are very happy, and I hope we will come back with a new project again.
Evo, imali ste priliku sada vidjeti kako to uživo izgleda.
You have seen how the process is carried out. The objective is to have a certificate for the market. We have our certificates for ISO standards, for quality certification for the plant and our fleet. We also have a certificate for safety, but we still need a certificate for the market, for placing products on the market. So we hope that this ARFM certificate will be realized, will be carried out. And so we are candidates for these certificates. I have finished my presentation. We can have the questions if Julia agrees now, or we can listen to Andrea's presentation and then we will answer all questions after her presentation, her speech. Thank you, Even. I think that we can ask you the questions now because we have time. For example, someone says, do you think that there is a possibility to improve pumps to catch sardines and anchovies?
Oprosti, nisam uključio prijevod, možete ponoviti, ali to bilo pitanje?
Sorry, I did not listen to the translation. Can you please repeat the answer? Yes. Do you think that there are possibilities to improve the pumps to catch sardines and anchovies? And she's repeating the same question directly in English.
Jedan dio tog pilota je napravljen, to je upravo selekcija riblje mlađi i nedoraslih jedinki da se žive vraćaju u more. To je napravljeno u suradnji kroz jednu mjeru Ministarstva poljoprivrede u suradnji sa znanstvenicima i sa ribarima. Ne? Tako da to je ona glavna nadogradnja na koju ciljamo. Ne?
Benissimo, e poi ho anche un'altra domanda, ovvero
I have another question. What are the final products of omega-3 might create a new variety?
Ponovno nisam imao prijevod.
Provo a tradurre in inglese.
I try to translate into English. Which are the final products of omega-3 are the most suitable to create a new assortment?
Of one specific product, which is the sardine butterfly fillets. We have done it in cooperation with the external service of Medicare Food in Padova. So they're packaged in the modified. Čujemo, da li da pričam na hrvatskom ili na engleskom? U redu. Ovako, mi smo pilotirali već kroz ovaj projekt filete, srdele u formi...
So we had this project of sardine fillets shaped as a butterfly. It is a pilot project with an external service in Padova. And so this was of great success. This combination with argon gas and CO2, this type of process. Before placing the product in the machine for packaging, there were 3 stages carried out in order to kill microbes. But now we have prolonged the shelf life of this product from 9 to 14, 15 days. This means a lot. The fact of finding a product on the shelves for such a long time is very important. Perfect. I would launch the poll now. If you can please launch the poll. Okay. 1 minute.
Chiedo a tutti i partecipanti di lanciarsi. Partito.
And 1 minute, and I ask all participants to ask, to answer the questions.
No, scusatemi, ma la
No.
domanda non rispondete perché non è
Don't answer the third
per Ivan, ma sarà
question
semplicemente
because it's not for Ivan, but it's the question for the next speech. I'm sorry, but if you change the poll in the morning and if you don't share it with us, we can't have the up-to-date poll. So this poll concerns the first question and the second question only.
Scusate, però se non si risponde a tutte e tre non si riesce a fare invia.
But I'm sorry, but we have to answer all the 3 questions because otherwise we can't confirm. Okay, we will comment only the first 2 questions. I stop the poll to share, but Giulia, I will tell you that it will be the same thing after the poll too. Okay, no problem. I now share the polls.
Allora, con Ivan possiamo appunto commentare la prima e la seconda domanda.
Naravno, evo, kao što sam
Okay,
rekao,
we are going to comment the first and second question.
srdela i tuna. Ima tu i nekih sitnih podvrsta koje
Yes.
su u tim mrežama.
We are not talking about anchovies and sardines only, but there are other subspecies as well. But the main activity concerns sardines. Actually, omega-3 has also tested this sea pump for small fish. And I'm happy to inform you that the pilot project has been quite successful, and about 10 different suction pumps have already been installed on a certain number of fishing boats. Very well then, I'd like to thank colleague Ivan Matsiasevic for his presentation, very comprehensive and effective, as also confirmed by the poll. And he has introduced us to some innovative gears that have been tested under the Preassessment project to achieve more selective fishing and for better protection of resources. And at this point, I give the floor to the last speaker of today, Andrea Bonacastarice from the producer organization ISTRA. Andrea, you have the floor, and you can take the floor. Thank you. My name is Andrea Bonacastaric, and I'm saying that I will talk about the results that we have achieved with this innovative product under this project, how we developed the idea. And I would like to share the presentation with you, my screen, before getting into the matter more in detail. I hope you'll be able to see the presentation. We're going to talk about innovative projects to increase the added value to our production. Andrea, we can't see the presentation. No, you haven't shared the presentation. We see the icon on the screen. You should click it. Click the icon so you open the presentation. Actually, I've clicked on the icon. It's about to open. Maybe it takes some time.
Ali, radiš sa dva monitora.
I was able to open the file. Are you working with two different monitors? No, I don't. So maybe the tech, I can share the screen, the presentation. Then I open it and share the screen. Can you see now?
Se mi date un minuto la apro io.
I think, Andrea, I think that you have to go on the icon of the present, not here, but you different scheme. Yeah. Sorry. Nego.
Allora, al laboratorio di idea ha avviato la condivisione. Quindi
Okay, laboratorio di idea has shared the screen. Can you read the presentation now? Andrea, can you see the presentation? Yes. So when we have to get to the next slide, you just tell us, okay? Thank you. Next slide, please. Again. You have to go back by one slide, please. ISA was set up back in 2004, and our officials decided to establish this cooperative because it was there were bad times for fishing in those years. Gasoline prices were very high, and for many other reasons. So fishers decided to strengthen their position on the market. Today we have 37 members to this cooperative. Their main activity is buying fish wholesale and sell it on the retail market. A cooperative, however, cannot work only by doing this, by just buying and selling fish. So they decided to diversify their activities, and we thought of buying a booth to sell fish on the market, also to set up a fishmonger shop, and also it was decided to set up a department where we could process fish. Members have invested money in this because they realized that investment into employment, job creation, as well as technology would actually solve their problems. Can you please go to the next slide? You see the number of members we had back in 2004 and how many we have today. These four cones, here you see there were 90 members back in 2004. Then there was a reduction in 2008, 70 members, 50 members in 2015, and 36 members in 2021. Why did we record this reduction in the number of members? Because fishing is not an easy job. You have to invest a lot of time also, not only money. And fish prices are not high, so people decide to do something else. To work in the tourism industry or in catering, restaurants, etc. actually catches, although this job is no a year-round job, catches are not the same throughout the year. For example, big size fish is caught in certain periods only. And what happens when there is a lot of fish? Prices drop, and hence fishermen decided to open this unit to process fish products. So they first store it and then they sell it when the amount of caught fish is less. How do we create added value in fish products? By processing seasonal surplus product. So here, we were able to join the Preassessment project or other international projects, like this one is an Interreg project between Croatia and Italy. And here, we can, first of all, develop in a sustainable way, both ecologically and economically. So we exploit resources through less pressure on species. So lower catches and greater added value. We create competitiveness by developing new products. And our cooperative wants to offer a ready-made product which can be readily served in restaurants, in supermarket chains, etc. So we are looking for consumers who don't want to spend too much time in cooking the product. And also the other objective was to have high quality product. So we had to think about an innovative product meeting all these criteria. A product with greater added value for the market, and this value will be recognized by consumers as well. So we focused on two different types of fish. Here is the next slide, please. So we focused for our pilot project, we focused on mullet. We have this a very rich resource, especially in Northern Adriatic. Why mullet? It's white fish that can be easily filleted at a low price. And when in the right season, the catch is quite high, however, and the price falls. So we fillet these mullets, and the filleted meat is then frozen. There are 6 different mullet species in the Adriatic Sea, and we are going to use mullets for our burgers. We are going to use those mullets that are caught in greater quantities. Then we prepare our burgers. And our habitat is rich in mullets, and we are authorized to catch mullet in this region. So we have a high amount of mullets, and we fish them with dredges. And then we have rose shrimps. The shrimps are available throughout the year, especially in the Central Adriatic Sea. We catch shrimps in Dalmatia. That's a region with a high amount of rose shrimps, deep water rose shrimps. It is caught with special trolling nets for fishing shrimps, and sometimes shrimps are also imported from countries outside the European Union. And this is one of the reasons why the prices of raw shrimps, they drop. So it's very important to give more value to raw shrimps from the Adriatic Sea, with Adriatic Sea origin, and not from aquaculture, not farmed fish, but freshly caught. Next slide. You can see in this slide what is the equipment that we use in our Istra cooperative, where we have set up our fish processing center. First of all, we have to debone. We have to debone the fish to the meat that is the fish that is then used for our burgers. So we have used this piece of equipment to debone, to peel shrimps. That was an original use compared to the past. And with this machine, we were able to use up to 80% of our pink shrimps. Once we cut off the shell and the head, from 44-45% that we used to obtain in the past, now we can use up to 80% of the shrimp meat. And in this way, obviously, we added value to the product because we obtain more product. This burger, as we are going to see later, has been tested by a laboratory in Italy, as you can see here in the slide. Actually, I forgot to illustrate these pictures. This is the way we work. We separate the shrimp from the shell, and we take off the head and the shell. You can see on the one on the left, you see the full shrimps, and on the right, you see the actual pulp. Next slide. I prepared actually this presentation, and I thought I could guide it. I could change these slides myself. So on the left, you see the shrimp pulp from the Adriatic Sea, and on the right, you see our innovative product that was sent to the Mediterfood laboratory in Padua, Italy, where they have developed the recipe and also how to have longer shelf life for this product. In this slide, I illustrate the technologies used by the laboratory, which technologies were used for preparing this burger recipe. Most importantly, was to increase the product shelf life, because fish products, they normally have a short shelf life. Actually, consumers like to eat their fish products fresh. So our aim was to have a longer shelf life, but without freezing the product, not to have a frozen product. So we have worked to treat the content, and then we also used very specific technology, high hydrostatic pressure technology, so-called HPP technology we used. This is ground fish meat obtained from the mullets and from the shrimps. And this can be used also for other burgers, for pâtés, for making fish sausages, and so on and so forth. 4 different technologies were used. One is skin packaging, HPP, the so-called crusting, and the so-called carbon snow technology. Here you see the description of the various steps in the production of our burgers. So mullet meat and shrimp meats was sent to the Italian laboratory. It was frozen. First of all, the laboratory had to defrost the fish meat. Then the mullet fillets were ground with grinding or milling. Then mullet meat is mixed with shrimps with dancing and some other aroma, some other tastes were added to it. Then the burgers is modeled with a press, forming 150-gram burgers. Then cryogenic crusting is applied. So the burger formed in this way is frozen on the surface at -90 degrees. And it has a 3D burger shape. So this product is stronger on a surface level, but again, we avoid it being deformed during packaging. What is skin packaging? Skin packaging is a packaging technology on vacuum trays, and cryogenic crusting helps the product keep its shape, so there is no deformation. Then HPPP, high pressure treatment to stabilize the product from a microbiological point of view. In this way, we kill all undesired organisms. So we have our packaging with skin packaging. Then the product is put under pressure, and the pressure is then transferred to the product is then put into special chambers. This technology has already been implemented in Japan and the United States. In this way, we can reach a 30-day shelf life for the product. This is an excellent result, I would say, because in this way it can be better stored in refrigerators at a certain temperature and then used when consumers want to eat it.
When we talk about innovative tools and processes for adding value, what was our objective to improve the value of these products and place them on the market with an added value? So the result is better sustainability, efficiency, and competitiveness of the fisheries sector. We have also the world of research of fishermen who work with us in order to develop future ideas. What are the economic and social effects reflected in the high efficiency of raw material exploitation with an increased efficiency of machine use? So with the significantly reduce the labor needs. I mean, this is not positive because machines replace men, but other jobs are created. So in the production of these products, there are some positive effects too. We keep having labor, human labor for shrimps. We need less labor, but we have more products anyway. There are also positive effects on the storage of products. There are also some advantages for the fishery sector. We can make more investments. We can sell and buy new machines to increase the added value of the fishery products, more stability for the sector, more profit for the sector with less pressure on our fishery resources. Because we don't need to buy a huge quantity of products to have a better profit. We must not forget that these innovative products are linked to different sectors, hotels, etc. The prize fish project has a target, a specific target to exploit resources, but with an advantage for the ecosystem of the Adriatic Sea. So we have a stability for the sector because we sell our innovative products.
Istraživački inovativan pristup inicijativa od ribarskog sektora, odnosno same industrije.
And so we talk about an innovative approach that creates more capitalization for the whole community. That's it on my side, from my side. As Ivan said, I hope that the ARFM certification will be something that we can use for our products that will have a more added value and that will be recognized on the market. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrea, for your speech. We understood the work carried out by an organization of producers and the innovative solutions that can be processed, developed, and experimented in order to give added value to the quota. So I have two questions for you. I'm going to read them in English in order to save time. The first question is,
shrimp burger. Scusate perché mi si sovrappone la traduzione in italiano. Un attimo, ok, no, la rileggo, scusatemi, la rileggo in inglese.
I'm going to read it in English.
Burger. What are the advantages for a producer organization in creating such a new product?
Pa prednosti su svakako prilike za plasiranje novih proizvoda na tržištu, za dobivanje dodatne vrijednosti proizvoda.
I think that we have this innovative product. And so we work in the production, but we have less pressure on the resources. We have greater possibility of use or exploit this product, shrimps. And we have the connection with the tourism and with the product on the market. One more question.
That the species you used in the fish burger are shrimp and mullet, but can a burger be made from other fish species as well?
Da, dakle, riblji burger se može koristiti od raznih vrsta riba.
Fish burger can be produced with different species, white fish, blue fish. We talked about cod. And so shrimp has an intense taste, so we can mix it with hake or cods, but we can use other species. Thank you. Now I ask to launch the poll. The two first questions will be referred to Ivan's speech. So I ask the participants to answer the third question. And then there is one more question that that I'm going to read, and we will comment it together. So the first two questions, yes, and the third question, you have to select the right answer.
Ah no, scusate, c'è anche la terza, la quarta domanda è già caricata, quindi rispondete.
Sorry, there is the third and the fourth question. So you can answer the fourth question too.
Interrompo il sondaggio e condivido i
I stop the poll and I share the results, so we can ask Andrea to comment them. So we comment the results with Andrea, the results of this poll concerning the third answer, sorry. So the cooperative Istra is responsible for looking for catching shrimps, but less than the Dalmatian area. There is an influence on the evaluation of the population of shrimps because we use 80% of shrimp, so we have to catch lesser quantities. And concerning the fourth question, Cooperative Istra has converted the deboning machine into a peeling machine, and in this innovative manner, we exploited 80% of the shrimp product of the pulp, of the meal, of the meat. So this is the right answer. So the participants understood very well your speeches. We still have a few minutes, and I would like to ask Loreta, who is still here.
Non avevamo appunto fatto, ovvero
I have a question for her. Did you evaluate all the fishery activities discussed with the consultations with the operators in 1 minute? An answer in 1 minute. Yes, we selected the activities and we covered almost all the activities expressed by the operators. One was not evaluated. The fishery of squillets. This is an important resource. Sorry, for jackknife clams. But there was a reduction in the stock. So we talk about jackknife clams. But we had an experience on the population. We moved them from the Tyrrhenian Sea to the Adriatic Sea. This experimentation was successful, but due to adverse weather conditions, the famous Raya storm, so the juveniles that were brought back to the Mediterranean Sea were destroyed. And so the fishery does not exist in 2020 with the COVID. We had not the possibility to keep experimenting. And so we did not think to develop the experimentation. We will try again, surely, because it is interesting. So I thank you all for your participation to this webinar. We had a high number of participants, and from the polls, I see that you have well understood the contents of the various speeches. We tried today to identify some concrete strategies adopted in the field in order to uh, implement the sustainability concept, and we saw the content of certification. In this manner, our goal was to provide you with some hints in order to stimulate debate. So we wanted to provide food for thoughts, and this will be discussed within the next few days within the Synergy. The webinar will be available on the website of Regione Emilia-Romagna. I thank the speakers, I thank the participants, and see you in Ferrara at the Sylogy, starting from tomorrow. Giulia, sorry. Even asked to take the floor. Yes, even you have the floor. Yes, I would like to say that with the implementation of the new technologies concerning the reduction of labor, we don't mean the reduction of jobs, but simply the fact that these people have more time for their activities and for other activities. This is the social aspect. When we talk about labor reduction, we talk about a reduction of efforts, but this does not mean that there will be jobs lost, but we will have a redistribution. These people will be devoted to other activities and other jobs. This is what we wanted to achieve. I wanted only to add these a few words. Thank you for your clarification. This is an important point of the blue growth of the blue strategy, that is to say, to develop maritime jobs based on the capacity of reconversion of human resources in other sea-related sectors. So it is important to promote the development of skills. It is important to invest in training, because each sector of the economy, of the blue economy, must be considered in an integrated structure. I see that there is a hand up, and so I give the floor to Luca Chiodini. No, it's not a question, just to remind you. Sorry, I didn't follow the last interventions. We are waiting for you at the Sylogy tomorrow, similar to what we said, not only about ARFM, but we will talk about a comparison with other certification schemes. Julia will intervene and will explain how the certification system works, the ARFM system works. So see you tomorrow. I just wanted to add this. Okay, see you tomorrow in Ferrara, in presence or online, and the The recorded webinar will be available in the 3 translation languages on the site of Regione Emilia-Romagna. Thank you.
Grazie mille.
Allora, grazie a tutti. Sì.
Grazie a
Thank you all.